Council and taxpaying citizens of Rancho Cucamonga. My name is Allison Kreider, and I'm a semi-active volunteer at the animal shelter, where I have volunteered for the past 7 years. For approximately 7 months now, I haven't been able to go walk dogs on any day other than the second Saturday of every month for No Dog Left Behind. And why am I not allowed to walk whenever I want? Because I was 3 minutes shy on my required volunteer hours. Yet other volunteers who did not meet this minimum were allowed to come back without issue. It sounds to me like I'm being discriminated against. I had to be interviewed by 3 people just to be able to come back as a part-time volunteer. The director told me in my interview that I had to earn back her trust. What trust did I lose by being 3 minutes shy on my hours? I didn't abuse an animal, I didn't steal money, deface property, or have an altercation with staff. I simply clocked out 3 minutes too early. Unless they manipulated the numbers, as we know they can do based on the fact that someone can work 1,000 hours in a single day. Months after my interview, the director emailed me to let me know my volunteer hours. I wonder, does she check every volunteer hours and email them personally? I asked her then if I could come back to walk dogs at my leisure. Whatever she had to say to me, she didn't want to put it in writing and told me to call her. If she had valid reasons for not letting me back, why wouldn't she just put it in an email? I never found time to call her, so when she just happened to be at the last No Dog Left Behind, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to ask if I could come back and volunteer full-time. Me and another volunteer walked our dogs to the front where an adoption event was being held, and I proceeded to ask her if I had earned back her trust and if I could walk dogs more than once a month. She said she wouldn't discuss it with me there and I would have to call her. I explained to her I work the same schedule as her and I don't have time to call while I'm at work. She told me to email her and she would call me. I said, I'm right here, can't you just tell me yes or no? She refused and wouldn't give me a reason why. This is how volunteers are treated that just want to come walk dogs. Is this how volunteers at the library or the senior center are treated? I doubt it. I have tried my best to attend every No Dog Left Behind. I believe I missed 1 or 2 due to prior engagements. I even attended an adoption/dog walking event where people could rent a dog to walk for the duration of the event. Can one of you please explain to me how it makes any sense at all that I can walk dogs 1 Saturday a month, but not any other day? Can you please also explain to me why people have to go through an interview, orientation, background check, and fingerprinting to walk dogs, but during events like the one I just mentioned, people can rent a dog and walk it throughout the day with absolutely no training. These people are not supervised. Someone could just load up a dog in their car and take off. What's to stop them? Why is she still punishing these dogs because I was 3 minutes shy? Why can you do nothing to get me back? This wouldn't happen anywhere else in your city, so why are you letting it happen at your shelter? What else do I need to do to prove myself? Please let me know or do something. If she's here tonight, I'd like to speak to her. No. So I guess she doesn't come to these meetings anymore then? Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, members of the public. My name is Dana Keithley. I'm a former employee of the Rancho Cucamonga Animal Shelter and one of the dismissed volunteers. And if you could please show this on the screen. Excellent, thank you. This is actually regarding a records request that was made a few weeks ago. We were concerned about the number of volunteer orientations and wanted to know the dates and times for the orientations and the number of people who attended in 2012, 2013, and 2014. We requested this information on several occasions, and only the 2014 information was provided. For 2012 and 2013, it was noted that there were no records responsive to this request. After the 3 attempts to get this information, we received the following letter from the city's clerk, which concerns you, Mr. Mayor. It indicated that Mr. Michaels met with shelter staff on August 13th to discuss the requests. At the meeting, it was noted that the sign-in sheets used for training are not retained as a permanent record, which included dates and locations of the training. It then states that Volgistics indicates the number of volunteer hours, and we already have these records. However, Volgistics doesn't state when there's an actual orientation. And when we're actually requesting records, you could see that the names have obviously been blocked out. That is obviously privacy issues, but we're no longer given the actual volunteer numbers, which is a way for us to be able to tell who is a new volunteer versus a continuing or returning volunteer. So I don't know quite how that information was supposed to help us with this particular request. What we were noticing, especially as we were getting the hours from Volgistics, is that, and Allison Kreider actually just brought this up, you can see some individuals in just one day, on 6/15/2013, this person got 1,015 hours in one day. We see it again, caretaking hours. I think this one is about 365 hours, or sorry, 346 hours in one day. So we know that there's manipulation of hours going on. Again, this doesn't help us answer our request. The letter from the city clerk's office goes on to say that the city's not obligated to create or retain these records outside of what is the day-to-day operations for the center. I would think the number of volunteers and those being retained from orientations would be important and of interest to the center and the city, but I guess not. The letter goes on to say, on August 13th, Mr. Michaels, you confirm that no records responsive to the request exist from the volunteer orientations conducted in 2012 and 2013. They don't exist. Well, I decided to go onto the city website. I put into the search volunteer orientations, Animal Center, and guess what? I actually was able to see the number of orientations held for all of 2011, 2012, and the one that they held in 2013. So to say that these records don't exist is a complete lie. Right? They're right here. Again, at these orientations, over 100 people could attend. Now, in 2014, and I'll leave this with you, Mr. Mayor, so you can look at the dates and everything. Now in 2014, you can see each orientation is only having maybe about 7, 8, or 9 individuals. So you're wasting more staff time and more money training fewer volunteers. Again, how is that productive for our animal center? What we just want to see, again, is transparency and accountability. Why is this information not being given? Why is it okay for the volunteer coordinator and the shelter director to not retain this information? Isn't it important for you as a city to retain these volunteers? It's unacceptable that they don't keep this information. But we know why they're doing it. They don't want us to compare. They don't want you to see that fewer volunteers are showing up now. And who does that hurt? It hurts the animals. So I think what the citizens of Rancho Cucamonga need to keep in mind, we need leadership in this city that's going to value transparency and accountability. So that means we need a lot of big changes this November. Thank you.
Woo!
Good evening, everyone. Once again, I need to show the lack of direction and leadership at the Animal Center. I'm going to read a letter from a citizen who lives in the 9200 block of Banyan. I believe she emailed all of City Council, so you should have all received this letter. On Monday, August 11th, 2014, at 3 o'clock a.m., an animal was heard crying, howling in the neighborhood. It seemed to be in pain as it did not stop. At 3:30, I called the Rancho Cucamonga Sheriff's Dispatch non-emergency number about the problem. The officer said that animal control would be called. The animal's cries continued for at least another half hour. In the morning at 8:30, I called the dispatch officer to find out how the problem was resolved. I was informed that animal services would not respond to the problem. Dispatch told me to contact animal control. I called but got a message machine that said if I had, quote, an aggressive or injured animal to call my local police or sheriff. I called dispatch back and they asked me to call City Hall and asked to talk to the desk sergeant. The desk sergeant said there was nothing that he could do and I should call animal control. Who was responsible for the issues in this community? The woman is asking. Who does she call? Then I have another letter from this woman's neighbor. Good afternoon, and again, they're writing it to council. I wanted to make you aware of an incident that occurred early this morning on August 11, 2014, at approximately 3 o'clock a.m. this morning. We were awakened by the sound of an animal nearby that was in obvious distress. It sounded like a coyote, but it could have been a dog. However, it was not a normal barking or sound that a coyote makes. This was one single animal which sounded like it was either injured or trapped. The sound seemed to be coming from the same location, not a coyote moving or hunting. This went on for at least half an hour, maybe longer. My neighbor phoned me this morning to see if we had heard the same commotion. I told her we did. She told me that she called the sheriff department to report it and also animal control. She was informed that neither the sheriff or animal control had responded. This concerns me greatly given the recent reports of wild animals in our neighborhood. Our safety and the safety of the suffering animals needs to be a priority. So who do we call? Monday morning on my way to work, there was a dog lying in the street. I called the shelter because I knew if I picked it up and took it in and the animal wasn't dead, they would surely kill it coming from me. So I called the shelter, I got the same message. If there is an aggressive or injured animal, call your local police. I called the police. They told me, I don't know why the animal center is telling people to call us. And I said, well, that's what their message says. So someone needs to come and check on this animal. Is it dead or alive? Someone needs to do something. So my question to council, we need some direction here.
Seriously?
And why is animal control not going out? And again, Mr. Mayor, I want to comment on the refusal of the director and volunteer coordinator to give up information. This is not the first time they've lied to you, and unfortunately, it's not going to be the last. And we're going to keep exposing what they're doing. We're going to keep requesting records, and hopefully one day you will open your eyes. You're not going to do anything, and you're probably not either. I did have hopes for you, but it's dwindling fast. And Mr. Steinarth, we all know that you have done nothing. Thank you.
Good evening, council. I'd like to also share in the congratulations of Chief Costello. I forget how many meetings ago it was. I think it was 3 or 4. They kind of lose track. But it was interesting because I had thought to myself, he was giving a presentation, and I want to say it was about the new training facility, but it was interesting how well-spoken Chief Costello was, how impressive he delivered the facts. He was personable, but highly professional. And honestly, I was thinking that guy should be running the show. But anyway, right now, there are animals suffering in our city shelter as a direct result of the actions by the city council led by the city manager. Dereliction of responsibility, failure of proper oversight, faulty hiring practices, poor management skills, shameful denial, indifference, and the unwillingness to follow the clear and concise hopes of the citizens of Rancho Cucamonga. There is no excuse why you people cannot fix the shelter. How do you sleep at night while those animals are so desperately in need? You continue to pick the wrong people to oversee the shelter operations. You failed to follow the step-by-step, literally, pinpoint accurate recipe for success that you paid the experts to show you how, and you have done this time and time again. You have wasted tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars invested in improving and redesigning not only a new program, but a new philosophy. That is the crux of the matter. You continue to fail to hire people who have the dimensions and sophistications to lead at a progressive level. We needed and need a trailblazing force of nature who will settle for nothing less than a no-kill shelter for themselves and for their staff. We still don't have it. I'm not good, as you know, at speaking extemporaneous. I gotta write everything down. I get frustrated, I get caught up in things, so for me the best thing I can do is write it down. But when I hear my colleagues here giving you these facts, it is staggering how you continue to ignore it. It really is mind-blowing. You know, these are really good people. Really good people. It's an honor to serve with them. Thank you.
It is not, it's rare that I speak extemporaneously. I can't even say the word, like the other gentleman did. But I see when we have volunteers in our city, they show the heart of our city. They are what makes us who we really are inside. We volunteer at museums, we volunteer Little League, we volunteer everywhere. These people make our city, not the paid employees. And when I see volunteers, like the people who come and just want to walk dogs, and they're abused in more ways than one, especially by an apathetic city council, then somebody has to speak up. You're not supposed to be apathetic. You're supposed to say something. Tell that man, get up, make it right today, not tomorrow, not the next day. So far, as I know, and I've been coming to these meetings for 8 or 10 years, it's been going on for 2 years. And nothing's happened. Now it's political season, and hopefully they'll see something, because it might be politically correct to do so. Item 2. I asked at the last meeting and received no response. So I will ask at every meeting until a response is given. In 2010, a seat was vacated on the city council, and it was given to a candidate who, as the mayor said, was the next city council candidate to receive the highest number of votes at the election. Will this precedence be maintained at this election, as the possibility exists again? We, the candidates, and the public have a right to know before November 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.